All right. Okay. It is the very top of the hour. So we'll be able to give 1 minute for people to join. But thank you for being here, everyone. We're going to talk about getting ahead of peak season. Hawk and I were just talking about how it is really coming up. It's coming up quick. Yeah,
I cannot believe we're almost in August. That's crazy. Crazy.
I know.
Yeah,
But exciting.
it is.
Yeah, September is gonna, I mean, I feel like August and September always go quick. So
Yeah,
we'll get
yeah.
there.
And then we're on the home stretch.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's 101. I've given a very generous minute to everyone to trickle in. We have lots to cover today, so why don't we get started? Also, yes, if you guys have any questions, please put them into the Q&A. There's also a chat section if you just want to comment on something. You can do that too, but if you have specific questions, make sure just to pop them into the Q&A so they are not missed, and we can either cover them as they come up, if it's maybe something quick, or Hawk and I will cover it at the end of the session. So yes, I hope you're in the right place, but you probably are. But we are covering mastering peak season, how to prepare your manufacturing and fulfillment operations ahead of the holiday season, which is peak retail season for everyone. Okay. So I'm Richard. I'm based in Calgary, Alberta. I work for Katana. We're an inventory and manufacturing platform. And I'll pass it over to Hakan or Hawk.
Thanks, Richard. Yep. So my name is Håkan Steele. As Richard refers to me as Hawk, or my friends do. I'm the partner manager at Starshipit. I've been here for well, a good 8 years. I've been working in shipping and logistics for almost 15 now. And I've spent countless hours with retailers and their fulfillment sort of and warehouses, fulfillment stations, that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to sharing a few tips on mastering peak season.
Super. Okay. We just went through the agenda, or sorry, the introductions. We're going to tell you just a little bit about Katana and Starship It so you sort of understand, like, if you're new to one of us or to both of us, to get a little bit of an idea of our background, about what we help our customers do and how we work together. Then we'll really get into the presentation with Q&A at the end. Okay, so about Katana. We offer an inventory and manufacturing platform. We specialize in small and medium-sized businesses. A lot of our customers are based in the US and North America, but we also work with people in New Zealand, where Hawk is from, Asia, and we help people manage their inventory and production so they have the right amount of inventory on hand, so they have the right amount of finished products on hand, and we allow them to sort of work with their teams to produce and fulfill orders. We also integrate with a ton of other SMB systems like Starshipit. And we try to make it as easy and approachable as possible so people can get a really professional grade system without spending tons and tons of money and spending, 6 to 12 months getting their sort of big ERP system set up. And we just try and make it really approachable for people to run their business, whether they're, making kombucha or cosmetics or something like auto parts. We just try to make it really easy for our customers to run their business. And it's Hawk's turn.
Great. Yes. So Starship It, if you're not familiar with Starship It, so it is a integrated shipping and tracking software. Now we've been at it for a good 12 years now, and we're currently servicing about 30,000 merchants globally. So that's across about 100 different countries. So yeah, nice widespread of geography there. As far as the sort of volumes that go through Starship it's really quite significant now. So last year we did about 150 million shipments through Starship. I expect there'll be more this year. I certainly, you certainly think Starship it's great. The platform is amazing, and the people. However, we're very, very proud of our App Store listings, which come from customer reviews. So by all means, go check those out. So the customers that we serve, they're both on the B2C and the B2B side. So there's a really good overlap with Katana as far as the verticals as well. Richard mentioned around cosmetics, food and beverage, certainly fashion is a big one as well for us, but all sorts of different verticals that Starship would be helping those customers with. So that's a little bit about us, and yeah, maybe I should just dive straight into the first
Yes,
tip.
you are tip one.
Tip one. All right. So this is really all about reviewing your pick and pack process, just like any other process in your business. This is an area that really should be reviewed very regularly because it's often an area that you can unlock a lot of efficiency and cost savings as well. So I guess with the goal in mind of increasing speed and or decreasing the error rate. Okay, so with both those goals in mind throughout everything that we talk about, really, it's around about preparing for peak season, reducing speed to get that order out to the customer, and decreasing the number of errors that come with it. So I guess I'm talking to two separate groups here to start with. The first one is those die-hard packing slip lovers, people that love the physical paper, all the items for each order, and they can go pick off the shelf. The second group of people are the people that are really open to actually ditching that paper, the physical copy, and going a completely digital process. So I'm going to talk to both sets here. So let's start with the packing slip fans. Now, the couple of actually, before we do that, I think I just need to highlight that particular stat with that goal in mind, because there are, on average, 20% of businesses' budget do get spent on rectifying operational errors. So again, it's an area that you just need to really hone in on. It's no good in going fast if you're just going to start making lots of mistakes and having to spend a lot of money undoing them. So those are the goals in mind. Now, let's start with those packing slip fans. And I actually get it. So having a paper packing slip arrive with a package can actually be quite good, being able to reconcile what you've got in there. However, it does come with a lot of problems. But there's two things I want to say about packing slips, and there's two efficiencies that you can really gain quite easily. The first one, if you are really keen on using a packing slip, having a product image on there is going to give you a final check when you're at the packing station. That packer can actually get a real quick visual of what's going into that package, because remember, they're going fast. Having that, having a visual to be able to check, okay, is it the right color? Is it the right style? Great, let's get it in there. That's a really, really good one to be able to, and it's a really easy one that people can implement. The second one is around validating the items that are going in. Now, what I mean by this, you've got the paper packing slip, you're going around picking the order, and you're getting back to a packing station. Having the ability to actually open the order on a screen as well, and scanning the actual item. So seeing all of the items listed on the screen and scanning the item off before it actually gives you ability to print a shipping label is going to make it really, really hard to fulfill that order incorrectly. Okay, I'm not saying it's impossible. There are ways and means. People will find a way and means around this, but it's going to make it very, very difficult to fulfill that order incorrectly. So that's what we call packing validation, and that happens at the packing station itself. So that's really a couple of tips for those packing slip fans, but I do want to talk to those that are ready to go paperless as well. So completely digitalize their process around pick and pack. Now, until recently, I suppose this has been really reserved for enterprise customers that have a lot of money to spend on really fancy warehouse management systems and barcode scanners that really are a massive, I guess, barrier to going paperless. And this is actually not the case anymore with certain apps that you can get on your iPhone or your Android. You can actually turn those into a barcode scanner, and you can use things like pick to tote, which means you're actually getting all of the orders into essentially a group. You can pick more than one order at a time, so it makes it super efficient. And it means you're not wrestling with a jammed printer every morning or replacing ink and all that sort of stuff. So um, it's something that you should really, really consider implementing. And what I would say is the earlier, the better. Um, of course, as I said before, it used to be really expensive and a huge financial outlay to be able to do this sort of thing, but now it's become very, very easily. So I would highly encourage people to have a look and see what paper they're using in their pick and pack process and seeing if they can dial that back and go digital. So that's my tip number one around the pick and pack process. But I guess leading up, this is a perfect time to do it and reviewing that process, looking where the bottlenecks are, looking where there are interactions with your keyboard, and bring your staff into it, seeing where they're spending their time around that pick and pack process. And I think, yeah, again, a huge, huge unlock opportunity for you.
Yes, I imagine December is not the time to be going with a new career. Um, Question about going digital. When is the best time or like the best stage and size in a business where they should think about digitizing the pick and pack
Yeah,
process?
really good question. Really good question. Every business is different. There's no cookie cutter model with this, but what I would say, because people have all sorts of different, the number of SKUs, the number of items in an order, the number of orders a day, the number of people. There's so many variables, but we've seen customers with as little as 5 to 10 orders a day getting real value about
Yeah.
going paperless in their pick and pack process. So it's a tricky question, but again, I would say certainly consider it as early as possible. Like if you're doing 5 orders a day, have a look at it, see if it's going to work for you. Because the toughest thing is actually implementing this sort of thing when you're much larger. All right. So
Yeah.
not only are you going to have all that time with a whole lot of errors that have come about because of paper-based picking, but actually changing a system when you're bigger is much harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Okay. And tacking onto that is when you're sort of thinking about your holiday, your sales, the items you want to focus on, um, what you maybe want to like clear out of your inventory is start to do a bit of like now is a good time to do some forecasting work. This might sound uh, a bit unfamiliar to some people, but it might be super familiar to others. Everyone sort of does it in their own way. And even if you haven't sat down and done like a proper forecasting exercise, you've absolutely done some form of forecasting just automatically by running a business. And the good news is you still have time to figure out your data ahead of the holiday season. So, there's a couple ways to go about this. I've actually done like a full webinar on forecasting, so I'm going to keep it nice and light and high level just for this one slide. So there is a lot of different ways to go about it. There's qualitative methods, which is just like, I hear this from my customers, or like I see people picking this up in my store. The quantitative methods are we've sold this many units and like it's costing this many dollars. And, based on math, we think that if the current trends of this year will continue through this year, based off of how much we sold in November, December of last year, we should sell, X amount of this t-shirt. But it's been a pretty volatile year. After a few like even I mean I feel like this year has been the most volatile out of the past five, or maybe the past four. 2020 was very odd.
Yeah.
So it's a bit tough to like really get a super precise, like absolutely accurate number, but you kind of just have to like use a little bit of like intuition and trust with this. Um, so I would say, and this is something that Hawk mentioned as well, you definitely need to talk to your team, especially the people that are like on the shop floor or they're talking to your customers every day. This is the time when you really want to learn like what your employees, your team members are hearing from the people who buy from you.
Mm.
Because you can do as much like, forecasting with just numbers as you want, but you are really going to miss out on the qualitative data if you don't balance it out with the numbers. So I would say just some sort of themes to think about are what are you seeing in the past couple months of your customers' purchasing habits? Are they, purchasing less often but higher volume, or are they just kind of like, buying a few things from time to time? This will really depend on what your business is selling. Like if you're a seasonal business, if you're, you know, big ticket items, or if you're, more approachable price point but higher volume, like you're selling candy or something, versus like, I don't know, fine leather good. So it's going to be sort of tough. But there's a ton of tools and templates out there to sort of give you a good starting point. Some of them are either really
Mm.
affordable or even free. And it'll give you like an Excel template where it'll say like, okay, put in these numbers for your past 12 months of data, and it will help you predict, what should you have on order now to make sure you have it so you can either, repackage it or turn it into a finished good or just make sure you've got it in stock ahead of the holiday season, which will also help you avoid running into the circumstance where you can't get the items that you want to sell
Mm.
in October, November, December. So now is the time to think about it and start putting your orders in. But without guessing, so you purchase the right things that you are actually going to sell through, and you don't end up with a ton of stock that you're going to need to put on discount, in 2026.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than having people wanting a particular item, right? And you haven't
Hmm.
actually got it, right? Or I guess the only thing worse is having too much of stuff that you don't, that
Yeah.
you can't sell.
Hmm.
So real quick question on that, Richard. So as far as forecasting goes,
Yeah.
you mentioned, other tools and things. Is there any specific ones that you might have in mind that,
Yeah.
other outside of Katana, that is of course
Yeah.
gold
Yeah.
standard. Yeah.
That's very nice of you to say gold standard.
Of course.
Yeah, so even though Katana, we do offer forecasting as part of our inventory platform, we also work with a couple other tools. My favorite one is Stock Trim. They're also based in New Zealand, and they do a really good
Mhm.
job of like a forecasting and planning tool for SMBs, and it integrates really nicely with Katana, but you can also use it just independently. Yes.
Nice one.
Good question. It's Hawk's turn again.
All right. Tip number three, automate carrier and service selection. So this is another big one. So I guess the first thing I'd preface this with is, as far as merchants, the most successful merchants that we're seeing out there are ones that are using a multi-carrier approach. All right. So more than one carrier, they may even be using sort of three or four. We've seen customers using sort of 8 or 9 carriers. Um, and the advantage there is pretty obvious. So you've got carriers. Each are going to be experts in certain different areas, certain postcodes, certain weight breaks, certain service levels. So the beauty of using a multi-carrier approach is to be able to play to all of their strengths, okay, which will save your bottom line, but also improve the service that you're delivering. However, the problem comes within the process of selecting these carriers. So again, this is an area. So if you're not automating this, this is an area whereby, um, if you've gone and picked and packed you've gone and picked the orders, brought them back to a packing station, and you're packing them, you're about to print a shipping label. If you have to do this stuff manually, it means stopping, thinking about who you're going to select or what service you're going to select to deliver this, and then interacting with the mouse, with the keyboard. And every interaction with the keyboard and the mouse is time. Okay, it may only be 3 or 4 seconds, but you extrapolate that over your peak season volumes, it really adds up. Or it means that the packer is actually not going to really care too much about who they're selecting. So being able to automate this sort of stuff using smart rules is going to take away all of the thinking, and it means you're actually going to get the most efficient, most cost-effective carrier and service for every single order that goes out the door. So when you're looking at a software's rules engine, things to look for would be a really extensive uh, list of conditions and actions. So what I mean by that, if this, then that. So really extensive lists means a really powerful rules engine. But the other thing is you want to make sure that when you're looking at this sort of stuff is it's really intuitive for you to to change on the fly. So you're going to set up these rules yourself, and then you're essentially going to be able to tweak them as and when you sort of need to. Which again, if it means that any temps or any part-time staff that are coming in that you can train them a lot easier. You don't need to train them on when to select certain carriers for certain orders. You can actually just let the rules take all the thinking out, and they don't need to worry about that sort of thing, which again is going to save your bottom line because you are actually using the most cost effective, and you're keeping your customers happy by using the best service levels as well. So that's a huge one that you can automate, and I think it's going to have a huge impact as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, question from my side.
Yeah.
You talked about the number of conditions and actions in a rules engine. What is something that a customer might be able to automate using smart rules like that?
Yeah, good question. So outside, of course, carrier selection and service selection, outside of that, there's again can unlock all sorts of different logic. So things like, okay, if you might say, okay, I'm going to use authority to leave, but for anything over $150, I'm going to get a signature for. Or things around dangerous goods, perhaps. All right. So you might say a particular SKU contains batteries, and the carrier needs to know about that. So you can set a flag to have, right, this is a dangerous good. The carrier will know to flag that appropriately. And other things like in particular around international or cross-border shipping. This is a really big one as well. So setting things like HS codes, country of origin for cross-border is going to be a real good one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Next thing, talking about bundling and promos and how to set yourself apart from the sort of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday shopping noise that can happen. Right. So once you've done your forecasting, which we just talked about, and you've got your rules and automation set up for shipping, um, now it's really time to think about, and I mean, this sort of goes in tandem with the forecasting, like what do you really want to prioritize in terms of like items that you're going to really focus on for sales in the holiday season? This might be things that you sell every year that are just like a seasonal push. Like if you have like gingerbread flavored things, maybe not so popular in July, but very popular in December. Um, so you really need to start thinking about your marketing tactics so you can prepare your inventory and your promo plans. Something that we've been seeing customers do to both increase their revenue and the units that they're sending per shipment, which also will decrease the sort of, costs, will offset the cost that you're going to pay for, say, paid marketing. If you're able to like sell two items for $150, that's better than selling one item for just $100. Is think about bundles as a way of increasing your sales. So that can be, if you purchase this sweater, you're also gonna get like a pair of mittens in the holiday theme for an extra $25. That's really gonna depend on what your product is. Like, I don't know if everyone's gonna have a holiday sale, but you can always think about it. Um, uh, yeah, I feel like that's just like something to think about is start deciding on maybe a bundle tactic. And I'm sure your marketing managers are experienced and already thinking about, um, how are they going to drive the revenue in the holiday season and, how are they going to hit those targets. But make sure your sort of inventory and operations people are working as a team with your marketing people. So you're able to fulfill those orders quickly because it can be, it's easy. It's like really surprising how often you can go without having, marketing and operations talking to each other. And you want to make sure you're on the same page during a tricky holiday season.
for
because who
sure.
knows what this year will be.
Hey, real quick one on that. So,
Mhm.
have you got any tips around how do you decide which products you're going to bundle together, and
Yeah,
why you should consider bundle
yeah.
promo? Mm.
I'd say you're probably more likely to sell a bundle if you pair sort of your top selling items, like if it's a face cream, with one of your lesser known items. So say it's like a perfume oil. But you always sell through on your face cream. That's your hero product that some people know you for and they come to your online store for. Think about it as a way to like attach a discovery of a product with it, with like your sort of flagship item. Then you attach it with something that's maybe less popular or just doesn't quite get the attention it deserves. But always like anchor your bundle in something that you know your customer wants. So you're not just putting together like two or three bundles of items that maybe don't make sense together or haven't sold historically well. Make sure you're like making it enticing. So not just the things that no one wants, but put it with maybe something people don't know about with something they're already informed on.
Yeah, got you. Got you. Okay,
Yeah.
tip number five, stop shipping fresh air, swap it for cost-effective packaging. So this is actually one of my favorites actually because I see it done so badly all the time. Um, so we see merchants spend so much time reviewing their packaging, but it's mainly around reviewing the materials that they're using, which absolutely is fantastic. We're certainly not discourage people from doing that because it's we've got to do the right thing by the environment. Um, but it also often comes at the expense of not looking into how much fresh air we're shipping. So what I mean by this, so orders have been picked, they've come back to a packing station, and then you've got someone at the packing station who's choosing a box that the items will fit in, plus plenty more, which means you've got a whole lot of spare space sitting in that box that's gone unutilized. And I think people are forgetting that that spare space is taking up a lot of room in vans, trucks, aircraft, and you, the merchant, are ultimately paying for that space. So not only is it the right thing to do from an environmental perspective, but it's actually going to make a huge difference to your bottom line when it comes to volumetric weight. So your carriers will love you for it if you can actually reduce that as well because they can fit more shipments in. So now again, this is an area that can be automated and take the thinking out of. A good platform will be able to select the right package based on all sorts of conditions, like okay, the weight of the total order or particular SKUs. But a great shipping automation platform will actually take the dimensions of each item that is in the order, giant game of speed Tetris, and find the most appropriate box size with the least amount of spare space. So it's another area that you can automate that will actually make a huge difference to your bottom line and increase speed if you want to do this automatically. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's so helpful. It's like you always can, just because you see it as the end consumer, like you think of, wow, this is a lot of packaging for something really small and not particularly delicate, but it showed up with a ton of paper. And this is something I didn't really start thinking about until I sort of started working in
Yeah.
manufacturing and operations, is that also is going to take up more space on an airplane or a ship or a car, and that also goes into it. So the hidden things that the customers don't see. Question that people might want to hear about is uh, if you have a really delicate item, say it's like a glass vase, and you need to use extra packaging to protect the item, so like, the paper, the air bubble,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on how to optimize for this?
Yeah, good question. Really good question. So that is also a consideration. Obviously, you want to have enough space to be able to add some some sort of margins, some packaging material, which is, from a Starship perspective, it's really, really easy to do. It's a setting that you can actually build into that algorithm, which you know, we've made it easily to do for that sort of thing. Because of course, yes, the last thing you want is for that product to end up damaged as well. But you're quite right. And God, I'm still getting things. Some unbelievable how many things I'm getting delivered in huge boxes that like garage remote the other day, which is just
Mm,
tiny, and it comes in
yeah,
like something the size of a shoebox. But there you go.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, I've had my fair share of those too.
Mm, mm,
Okay, so we're sort of getting towards the final third of the presentation. If you have questions and you want us to answer them at the Q&A portion, just pop them into the chat and we will cover them. So final tip on my side is um, pre-orders are something that you can do to drive revenue sort of going into the holiday season, but through the holiday season. This can be if you have like a limited edition product, and you want to sort of drive a bit of incentive with people. But you can also use pre-orders as a way to offer discounts that are not just like, hey, everything's 35% off. So what you can do is you can say, like, I've got this I'm blanking on items. I'm just seeing a sweater, like, hey, we're dropping this sweater in October, but if you order before September 15th, we're going to give you 20% off. If you order before September 25th, you'll get 10% off as a way to incentivize your customer and you can start to sort of receive revenue ahead of time. So always a good way to free up some new cash. And you can also get a better understanding of, do you need to produce more or sell more? Or do you maybe need to tweak your marketing language? Pre-orders can be a really interesting way to learn more about your customer. Furthermore, pre-orders also might be most effective with repeat buyers who already have a sort of understanding for your product and what their shipping experience will be like. They might be a little bit more likely to wait for, say, a few weeks for an item. So yeah, I would say test that heading into the holiday season if you can. Once again, this will really depend on what your items are and who your customers are. But it's a way to think about optimizing revenue going into the holiday season and even beyond. Like you can do pre-orders 365 days a year. And you might learn a lot about your customers with that.
mm. Have you got any specific customers that have done really well using
Yeah, one
doing
of our
this?
favorite
Mm,
customers is called Peace Collective. They do like sports branded apparel. So they own a bunch of licenses for um they own a bunch of licenses for like, NBA sports teams. And they own the licenses and the logos. They've got like, they have like now hundreds of options of like, blank t-shirts and hoodies and merch. But instead of having like, pre-made versions of all of those like items and all the full size runs, which would take up, fact like a massive amount of storage space, they let people like customize what they want and then they ship the item. So essentially most of the things that they do is a pre-order because,
mm,
they have some things just, produced on hand and they're available to ship quickly, but a lot of them are just like that. And yeah, it's allowed them to grow their business massively. They now operate in the US and Canada with different sports leagues from like baseball, hockey, volleyball, tons of things. And they tell us that they wouldn't be able to scale their business without the ability to take the pre-orders. And it also saves them from, producing a ton ahead of time. Maybe they sell, maybe they don't, and they have to mark it down. So yeah, it's really helped them operate their business a lot more efficiently.
yeah, nice, nice.
And it talks to
Okay, last one from me is around returns. Now, so this is one that often gets overlooked at this time of year. Everyone is thinking about getting those sales and getting that cash. Now, so put yourself at the end of peak season, you've smashed all your your targets, and all your operations have run really smoothly. Break out the champagne, it's great. But now spare a thought for your customer service team or your returns department, whatever you might have got there. So this is actually a huge overhead if you're not doing this really well, because of course with more sales comes more returns. Okay, we're going to do all we can to minimize those returns, but they're not going anywhere. Returns are here to stay, and this is something that needs to be looked into ahead of those sales, really. So of course, look at the process that your customer is going through two lenses. All right. So one is from a customer experience point of view, the other is from your customer service operational sort of side of things. What is the process? Are you asking your customers to still fill in a form, send it back, which inevitably leads to a question from your customer service team, which needs to reply, and so the email chain back and forth starts around the returns and approvals, sending email shipping labels back and forth. So this is where you've got an opportunity to automate that and select and you work with the returns portal, where you can actually brand the whole experience. What you need to do is really look in when you're selecting a portal is choosing one that is going to be able to mirror your returns policy. And what I mean by that is you're going to have parameters around certain SKUs. If there's a hygiene reason you're not going to be able to take returns, or if it's a time frame on them, might be on sale, whatever it might be, you need a platform that's going to actually mirror that policy, and actually can walk the customer through in a really intuitive way to take the friction out of it, but also just to make sure that everything is going to be managed really seamlessly on your side. When did you get the return? Has you processed a refund or an exchange or credit? Are they, is there a fee that comes with that return? So all these sort of things are worth considering, but it's for still many customers that are doing this stuff manually. This is an area that can be unlocked really easily. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
tip for that one.
Much like the example I just shared, do you have a customer that is handling returns really well? And like, what are they doing to do a good job about it?
Yeah, good question. Good question. So let me think. We've got a customer that's doing, in fact, they're in Iceland. This customer,
Nice.
they're called Icewear. They make and sell woolen apparel, of course,
Mhm.
being warm, Icelandic apparel. And 90% of their shipments go abroad and are sold internationally, and they're actually really cranking. It's a good business, but particularly with international sales, getting returns comes with a lot of headaches. So they originally they were doing that sort of thing manually, and they switched to having using the Starshipit returns portal. And again, they were going back and forth with emails, spending a lot of time. They've managed to get back 70% of their time they were spending on returns just by
Amazing.
automating this through a branded returns portal with Starshipit. So that's pretty powerful statistic. Time is our most valuable asset, right? So everyone
Yeah.
is time poor these days. So imagine that 70% of your
Yeah.
time back that you're spending on a particular task is pretty powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. Expecting returns is just such an integral part of current consumer habits. And the sooner you get those items back into your warehouse, you can sell them again. So
Yeah, exactly. And get that customer back as well if it's a good experience.
absolutely. Yeah, I know I definitely will repeat orders from stores that are really easy to send things back to because that's just the way it is. And I want
Of
to try a
course.
couple different sizes, but if it's difficult or if they're not very mindful of, over like post-border experiences, and might be the only time.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So
your turn
yeah,
again.
yeah. So I just wanted to speak really quickly about the overall I guess technical partnership that we've got with Katana and Starshipit, which is really um proving super valuable to some merchants out there. So the reason this came about is obviously we Katana does a job that Starshipit doesn't around inventory management, and Starshipit does a job that Katana doesn't want to do either around the actual carrier and shipping aspect. So the partnership really makes sense because these are two absolute experts in each other's field, and the way we're being able to pass data between the two systems, um, from the time a purchase order is placed to dispatch and beyond dispatch, actually around the actual delivery. Um, it's actually meaning the data sync between the two platforms is meaning that customers don't have to necessarily copy and paste information around different platforms, but also they just get a far better customer experience right from start to finish with real-time syncing of tracking back to Katana once the order has been shipped out. Um, and Katana is obviously getting the benefits of a lot of our functionality around our post-purchase experience, and the tracking information that we can send to the end customer, and not to mention the Starship customers getting the benefit of all of the inventory management functionality that Katana offers. So it really is, it's a partnership that's making a lot of sense to a lot of people, and I think having that data going back and forth is super valuable. And again, it just made sense for us to partner with, you know, the gold standard, as I'll say it again, Richard, in inventory management. And yeah, I think it's making a lot of sense right now.
Amazing.
Mm,
All right, that has been a quick 40 minutes.
sure
I think we have
has.
about 5 minutes for questions, and I am excited to answer this one, or I actually feel like this might be more for you, Hawk. Is okay, a business with about 200 to 300 orders per day. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Says they provide virtual bundles as well. So good that you're ahead of the trend. We cannot store too many different sizes of boxes due to warehouse capacity. What do you recommend?
Yeah, this is a good one. I'd love to dig into this a little bit further offline actually, if that's possible. But a couple of things spring to mind. So the first thing is you could have your most, you know, so we've got customers that use sort of 30 different box sizes. They might have 10 of those box sizes predefined in Starship it and pre-made in their warehouse. Exactly. They're not going to make up all of those box sizes and have plenty of them on hand. But if you had them perhaps just flat packed on a shelf and properly marked, you can choose the box and quickly make it up on the spot if you don't have too many. I think there's still advantages to that. Obviously, this it is another step, but if you've got space restrictions, that could help a lot. But I think it'd be worth us digging into that a little bit further so I can understand a bit more about that. Hopefully, that's helped anyway, having that particular tip.
Cool. Someone asks about how do they get up and running with Katana and Starship It before the peak season. So yeah, why don't we both talk a little bit about our sort of like implementation process?
Mm,
Um, on the Katana side, you've got two choices. If you um, say are slightly overwhelmed and you really just kind of want someone to come in with a magic wand and sort everything out, we can recommend you to a implementation partner of ours that will take your data, help you build out your processes sort of in terms of assembly and your shop floor and assigning instructions to everyone and adding in your suppliers. But if you maybe are a little bit more interested in doing things yourself, or you know you're pretty organized right now, but you're sort of just going from an Excel sheet onto a platform like Katana, you will get assigned a implementation manager, one of my colleagues, and you'll sort of meet with them once a week, and they will walk you through the process. They'll help you upload your data and give you the resources you need to like follow the set like data import systems. So you just kind of do a simple upload. It comes into Katana, and you can work through, you know, any hiccups with your implementation manager. Takes about 6 weeks is the average timeline. And what about at Starship It?
yeah, good question. Okay, so as far as the process with Starship it goes, it's very straightforward. So the beauty of this as well is you can implement Katana and Starship it independently. You don't need to wait for one to do the other. You can do them at the same time. Um, so the way it works, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial, and it's one of those obligation free trials, not one of the ones that you pay for at the start and forget to cancel. So you do that through the website. And then we'll reach out and sort of make sure, you know, talk about your requirements and that sort of thing. Just go do a quick discovery call. And then we will help you link in your courier accounts into Starship It so that Starship It is connected to your carriers. The Starship It to Katana integration is very straightforward. You know, you can do that yourself. It's nothing you need a developer for. It's plug and play. It's about a, I don't know, 2 or 3 minute job before you start seeing the orders coming in from Katana, providing you have orders coming in Katana. But yeah, and then, you know, once we've got a basic setup, we'll arrange a time where we can do a one-to-one walkthrough, or you'll get your dispatch team around a computer and we'll just go through the system, make sure it's configured to your liking. We'll help you set up your printer, and then away you go. So it's really straightforward. I mean, we've got customers up and running in the same day before. It's pretty
Nice.
straightforward. Yeah.
Love
Yep.
that. Okay, why don't we head on to the final slide? Okay, so we've reached the end. If you have any final questions, maybe throw it in because we could do maybe one more. But we've got QR codes. So if you have a question that you maybe were too shy to ask, or you think it's a little bit too complicated for a webinar answer, feel free to scan the QR code there with the little Katana logo, and you can book a conversation with one of my colleagues, and they can introduce you to the platform and sort of walk you through how we can help, or answer your sort of like general questions. And Hawk, why don't you tell them about Starship and getting started?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very straightforward, and the beauty is, again, there's no financial outlay at all at the start, so you can use it for 30 days free of charge, have all the onboarding, and if it's not for you, no problem. There's no financial loss. It's just, half an hour of your time, and but yeah, love any questions that you might have offline. Please feel free to connect, and we'll dig into your business, see what we can do to help sort of streamline you ready, get you ready for peak season.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow, that was so much fun. I'm glad we got around to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Appreciate everyone coming along.
Yes. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. See
Have a
you.
great day.